everybody. For anybody that's jumping on here and is watching this post live, I will get to the subject at hand in just a minute. I'm going to let a couple people jump on here on the live feed before I actually get started. Hi, Steven. I'm just going to wait for a couple people to come on. Hi, Bobby Sue. I'm just waiting for some people to come on before I get started. I'm actually pulling up our YouTube channel right now, if it will let me. How's everybody doing tonight? Hi, Diane. No more minis. I see minis all the time still. Every day I see about 4 or 5 of them. I don't talk about it anymore, but yeah, I see a lot of Mini Coopers. It's really weird. Why does YouTube have to change everything? It's like every time I go onto YouTube, it's a different layout. It's really annoying. Really annoying. But anyways, so tonight I was going to be talking about, hey Sarah, tonight I'm going to talk about experiences and evidence, which I don't really like to call it evidence, because is anything that we get actually evidence of the paranormal? I don't really feel that it is. I feel like it's all just a little piece to a giant puzzle. Hey Rose. With way too many pieces, and some of them are missing. So for some reason I cannot figure out how to get to my actual channel on YouTube. So I feel kind of retarded at the moment. I wanted to talk about like our investigations versus like what we've gotten, our actual data, you know, our anomalous data versus like our personal experiences. And I kind of wanted to go over, you know, when you're out on an investigation and oh, that's nice. It automatically plays. So yes,
I couldn't get all the mold out.
Go. Anyways, so when we go to an investigation, one of the things that we keep track of is our personal experiences. And a lot of people feel that, well, in the paranormal field, a lot of people feel that personal experiences are not important. I hear that a lot. You know, you tell somebody you were, you know, in your living room and you had an experience where the TV shut off, or you saw a shadow walk down your hallway, or you know, just something that you cannot explain. And you know, a lot of people do have very logical minds, so their first inclination is to try to figure out what it is. And you know, if you do have that kind of mindset, then you would think that you'd be more believable if you had an experience. One such experience for me is just this past Saturday, I saw a shadow figure, what I think was a shadow, walked past a window in the downstairs of Oddfellows. I was outside as well as Jeremy, and there was nobody inside of the building. And somebody immediately, you know, said, well, couldn't there have been somebody inside? No, there wasn't anybody inside. I know that for a fact. And it kind of made me think a little bit about how other people feel. You know, I've been investigating for 10 years, and I don't just assume things are paranormal. I usually try to figure out a reasonable and logical explanation for it first before, you know, I go out there and say, well, there's no way that me standing in one position and seeing something pass, you know, by the window could be really, you know, what could explain that? There was nothing, there's no window on the other side, so you're not seeing through the entire building. You're not seeing something on the wall, because the only thing on that wall through the window is a thermostat for the heat and air conditioning. So it wasn't that. It all just, you know, to me, there's a huge gap here with people saying that your personal experiences aren't important. Why do we go into places to actually investigate if personal experiences aren't important? I mean, a lot of clients, we're going in to try to validate their experiences. We're going in to try to help their situation. And I wouldn't say every private residence is to validate. There are some instances that we can go in and we can find a perfectly logical explanation. But why does everybody in the paranormal field completely discount personal experiences? One of my favorite books about the paranormal was written by a man named Camille Flammarion. Hi, Pamela. He was an astrologer, and he wrote this whole book about different, you know, personal experiences that other people had given him. So it may have been like they were having a house party, and there were a whole bunch of people at this house party, and each of them had an experience in this, you know, manor house that they were staying in. And, you know, maybe they all kind of coincided with each other. So he went in, he interviewed everybody, and he really, you know, laid in wait to see if he had things happen to him. And he did in some instances. And he really like looked at it, you know, from a very objective point of view. And to me, he was a better paranormal investigator than some of the ones that I know. You know, sometimes just using intelligence and using these personal experiences people have can really, you know, put into perspective what possibly could be happening. You know, I really feel like sometimes we throw our brain out the door when we have some of this equipment, you know, in front of us. So to me, I want to know what everybody else thinks too. You know, what are we missing here by completely just throwing out personal experiences and only using anomalous data? I feel like some people's experiences are better written down than actually using data that could be false. You know, an EVP that's not really an EVP, a picture that's just dust. You know, when will the personal experience be more important than some of this data that really isn't legitimate? So that's kind of where I'm going with this today. But I also, you know, everybody likes to hear the real, you know, meat and cheese of our investigations. They don't want to hear, you know, about all the other things. They want to know, you know, what kind of personal experiences were you having and you actually got data, or and that's why I was trying to pull up YouTube, and it is up, but it's not working for me. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to approach that tonight, so maybe I'll have to do it a little bit better next time. But anyways, does anybody have any thoughts or questions about this? You know, what do you feel about personal experiences? Has anybody ever just kind of like poo-pooed your personal experience and just said, you know, well, did you get any actual data? Did you get any audio? Did you get any video? You know, one of my probably most memorable personal experiences that was experienced by several people. We didn't have any video, we didn't have any audio, but I'm telling you, this is one of the most compelling things that has ever happened to me. 3 of us were walking down a ward at Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and, you know, there was nobody else there with us. You know, we're walking down, about midway down the hallway, there's a door that's open, all the way open. All the way open. It's flush with the wall. If you've ever been there or seen any of the pictures of Trans-Allegheny, don't dozens of doors down every ward. Well, this one was fully open. It was on our right-hand side. So we're walking down the hall, and this door that's all the way open flush with the wall just slowly closes, just so that the plunger, you know, that the latch for the door just bumps the door jamb. And that's where it stopped. Well, we sat there probably for a good half an hour attempting to figure it out, attempting to see if it would happen again, trying to get, you know, we turned our recorders on immediately, trying to get this to happen again, but it didn't. So should we throw away that personal experience that the three of us saw all at the same time? Or, you know, I mean, that's my point. It's just Rose saying something. I agree with you. It doesn't make sense to discount a personal experience. You know, that's what the whole foundation of paranormal exploration is based on back in the day. Yes. On the flip side of it, also, there are some people that, you know, they immediately like, oh my God, you know, I saw this light anomaly and I couldn't figure it out. Well, sometimes there are explanations. There are perfectly logical explanations for what they're experiencing. So, you know, there are some people that really do have more of the dreamer kind of, you know, ideals when it comes to the paranormal. They think everything's paranormal, which is not the case. So, you know, if you are approaching any type of experience, you're going to have to try to find a logical explanation first. But there are some things you just cannot explain, like a door shutting by itself. Yes, we tried to figure it out, but we knew there's no wires or cords or lines from it. There was nobody else in that hallway. We looked, I don't know how many times, trying to figure it out. So there are some things you just cannot explain. And I would suggest, like, any of you guys that are interested in our, like, things that we've gotten through the years, go to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com Antietam Paranormal or /Antietam Paranormal. We have a lot of our EVPs, our video stuff. We have, I would say, if you go back far enough, you're going to find the Engine 1 video that we have. We have Exactly Pamela. We always try to debunk or recreate the whatever experience it is. So we have the Engine 1 one. We have the Masonic Temple. We have a couple of good anomalies. I think we had one from ages ago at a private business that was in Funkstown, which is nearby here. Go and check them out. A lot of times I post up like what we were doing at the time. You know, if we were just sitting around doing a session, if it was a camera that nobody was on. I like to also correlate in the descriptions saying, you know, well, there may not have been anybody in that room, but we were all in this area doing this. So sometimes things correlate. Sometimes they just, you know, they just happen when we're doing something else. So definitely check those out. Check out our EVPs and our things like that. So there's a lot of them on there. The warehouse, I would say, is probably one where we have so many personal experiences, and I've yet to really get a good juicy piece of audio or any type of video there that, hey Kylie, that actually, you know, kind of boosts the location. Another one is the John Brown cabin. Even though we've had personal experiences there that we cannot explain, we haven't gotten any EVPs, so this is a great opportunity for other people to actually capture EVPs. You know, things that we haven't. We were in John Brown's cabin. It was me, Judy, and Sharon, and we were upstairs, and we were just sitting there, kind of just chatting, trying to get things to happen, and all of a sudden we hear the door downstairs open, and they all knew that we were upstairs doing a session. And so, but we thought, well, they had lit candles downstairs, so maybe they were coming in just to blow them out. We heard heavy footfalls. It sounded like booted feet walk into the downstairs, and within minutes, you know, the booted footsteps left, and we smelled what smelled like the candles going out. Well, you know, we look at this objectively. Somebody came in and blew the candles out. That was our first inclination. So when we finished up in the cabin, we went out and we asked questions of the individuals that were there watching over us while we investigated. And they said no, we were on the top side, we weren't even down there, and the rest of the teams that were there that night weren't down there either. So there was not an actual explanation of a living person went in there, opened the door, blew the candles out, and left. So then, we have to try to grasp at straws. Okay, well, what other explanation could there be? There's really no explanation for the door opening and closing. There really isn't too much of an explanation of booted feet because they were clearly downstairs and not on the porch. The only thing that we could possibly explain was the candles being blown out. The windows were open and there was a breeze. So, these are the things that we have to think about. That is a very compelling thing to have happen to you. Why would you discount something of a personal experience like that and say, well, we didn't get anything but the audio? We didn't have video of that, so we can't really use it. Over time, I think there have been things that we've experienced that, we can't use because there's doubt. But in this instance, there was no doubt. We could not explain it. There was no other explanation for that. So really, when in doubt, you just kind of say, okay, well, maybe it's paranormal. Maybe it was the spirit of something coming in saying, we need to blow these candles out because you're going to burn the place down. Or maybe it didn't have anything to do with candles. Maybe it was just something coming in and leaving. We don't know. But I'm going to go back up here for a second because I think Rose said something. Rose says, of course, you always try to find a logical explanation first, but when it's right in your face that you've all experienced, it's ridiculous to disregard it. I have a friend that won't believe anything. He laughs off anyone's experiences. Yes, I've seen some people so skeptical. It's kind of astounding. There's a point where you've kind of got to give up the skeptic side because you're looking more foolish than the person that experienced it. When you try to grasp at straws and say, oh, well, there's a bar down the street, so that's probably what's going to explain it. That just doesn't make sense. Throwing things in there that are possibilities that really aren't possible and just grasping at straws to try to explain it, at some point you just got to say, we can't really explain this. There's just no way to explain it. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments? I gotta scoot back down. Let me think of some of the other ones that we have had. I'd say a good example also is the Oddfellows building. We finally got an EVP at Oddfellows of what sounds like a young girl either saying knock knock or saying something in a foreign language. The only experiences that we've really had of this little girl, we don't have any EVPs other than that one. We don't have video of her. We don't have any conclusive equipment manipulation. I mean, we've had some things like, we do use the flashlight from time to time, and she does like to play with that. But to me, I need more than that to really conclusively, with the data, say that this is a young girl there. The only things that we have are psychics and sensitives that have felt this girl. And we all, every single one of us, have the same exact explanation of her. We can describe her exactly the same way without letting each other know that. I want to say I saw her first. One of our members, Chris Davis, has seen her visually. He didn't see it in the mind's eye. He actually saw her physically in there. Another gentleman, Ed Harden, who's part of another paranormal team, he saw her mind's eye, more like the psychic ability, psychic medium. And someone else, John Welker, also had the same kind of experience. And each time, I had not said that she was up there. They had gone up there and then told me what they had experienced. So, that kind of goes on a little bit of a different paranormal experience, discounting psychics and mediums. Sometimes their input is very valuable. So, it all kind of comes into the component of each little thing has its own value. And in the end, when you put everything together, you may actually have a really good database of information, whether it's from your equipment or if it's from a psychic or it's just a personal experience. everything has importance, everything has value, and everything should be used. And I would definitely say that just because you get something with your equipment, you know, if it's just one piece of equipment, you really need to have some other things to back it up. I wouldn't say though, you know, just make stuff up to kind of back it up. No. You really need to have good documentation, and more than one person really needs to have that experience. But does anybody have any thoughts or questions or comments? I think we only have 3 people in here right now. Must be a boring topic tonight. I might go over here and see some more of our videos and try to see if I can find anything else that would really give us some good... Oh, here's another one. Trans-Allegheny. Somebody had asked me a little bit ago what I thought was the most active. Bar none, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is probably the most active place I've ever been. I've had every type of experience that you could possibly think of, well, except for demonic, happen in there. Being touched, being scratched, feeling sick, hearing audible voice phenomena, hearing, you know, screams, having things moved, having things thrown, equipment manipulation, EVPs. I don't think we've had video. Actually, no, I'm wrong. We did have video. We have a video, and I don't think it's up on YouTube. We had a video years and years ago. They would see what they called the orderly. Ward 4. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Ward 4, which is on the first floor. They would see this guy who they call the orderly pace back and forth behind the lattice work. Now, I don't know if they tell that story now anymore at all, but when we did our first private investigation there, we set up a camera in that hallway pointing towards it, and we definitely caught something moving back and forth. Because it was so far away, we never used it, but, you know, it was a really good example. I don't know that we've ever stood there and watched it. I'll have to ask Jeremy that later, but that was a really good video, and you know, people have sensed that guy all the time. Trans-Allegheny in the Civil War section, the kitchen, cafeteria area. If you go back in there, most times you feel kind of sick, kind of scared. I know Amy Bruni said she wouldn't go in there. A lot of us kind of just feel very uncomfortable when you go back there. And we did get an EVP. I don't remember what it said. Isn't that terrible? I'm not prepared for today. Let me see if I can find it. Don't quite remember what it said. This was our first ghost hunt there too. Way back in 2009. I want to say it said get out. I'm going to double check that. But I think Jack is the one that is said to be back there. We even caught... No, it says first floor, Ward 4. Get out. So that's not the right one. But anyways, we did get an EVP back there. I'm not quite certain what it was at this point. Jack. God. Sigh. Yeah. So, yeah, get out. Well, that one, the get out from Trans-Allegheny, that was actually in Ward 4. We had the creepers. Yeah. And I'll get to those in just a second, Sarah, because Jeremy said just saw them this last weekend. The get out, I think, was on a recorder that we didn't have. You know, nobody was carrying it. We weren't with it. We just sat it down and we moved off. It was just stationary. And we caught that saying get out. Not 100% sure of that, though. See, this is the problem. When you investigate for so many years, you don't remember stuff. Everything seems to kind of blend together after a while. Especially at Trans-Allegheny, we went so many times and did so many investigations. They all kind of run together. So trying to remember exactly where they happened and, you know, I say the first thing that ever happened to Trans Allegheny, we were on the tour of the Civil War section, and the tour guide had stopped in this hallway right outside of the old classrooms that used to be there. And out of nowhere, we hear this voice, me and this guy Ryan that, you know, was part of the group. We hear this voice just like in between us and the tour guide. And of course, we're the first people in line because we're like, you know, we're ready. This place is awesome. We can't wait. Hey, Chad. So, you know, we're sitting there listening to her talk, and out of nowhere, you hear this young girl's voice. And we didn't know what it said when we first heard it, but listening back, she was saying, "Don't go." And the tour guide was talking about where we were going next. So the little girl didn't want us to leave, obviously. The main story that you hear at Trans Allegheny is about Lily. Now, I don't know if the whole Lily story is completely true, but I will say we have a lot of EVPs of a young girl. She said God at one point. She said she sighed. Humming. We heard humming. And a couple of other odds and ends. So it's definitely, I think the first time that we went, I kept feeling like somebody was behind me. You know how little kids kind of follow along at your hip? I felt like she was behind me walking. And a couple times that I said that, you know, then we got an EVP. So very interesting. Sarah said, don't forget the creepers. So the story goes, Jeremy and Copperhead, anybody knows Copperhead? He used to be a tour guide at Trans Allegheny. Copperhead's awesome. Really great friends with him. One of the times that we went to Trans Allegheny, Jeremy said, have you seen anything weird in here? And they were up on Ward F, which is not a very friendly ward. That's where the seclusion cells are. And so Jeremy asked Copperhead, have you ever seen anything weird in here? And Copperhead said, why? What did you see? And Jeremy said, I just want to know what you saw first. Copperhead said the night before they'd actually seen this shadowy thing, like looked like it had crawled down the hallway, gone up the wall, and across the ceiling. So Jeremy said, I've been seeing them every time I've come here, but now that I've just seen that, and it was just him and Copperhead, Jeremy felt comfortable talking to Copperhead about it. But apparently they both had seen them for a while. So they kind of coined the term creeper, which apparently a bunch of people have seen it now. Jeremy sees them all over. He's seen them at Trans Allegheny, at the Masonic Temple, at some of the lock houses we've been to. So we're not quite, so we think it's something to do with these guys. Most people who have a Native American heritage apparently are able to see them. Sarah, who I think has seen them, and she has Native American heritage. I have not seen it, but we were all in this one room at the end of Ward F, and they thought they saw something go up the wall. Well, all of us girls heard it. It sounded like it was scratching at the bricks, trying to go up the wall. So there's another personal experience. We all were in there. The guys saw it. Us girls heard it scratching going up the wall. So it was very interesting. You have to ask other people if they've ever seen creepers. That's one of the statistic things that I really need to do and try to get more information if other people's, you know, like mice in the walls. That's exactly what it sounded like. Kind of unnerving, make all your hair stand up. I'm kind of grateful that I didn't get to see them. Because once you see things, hey Rachel, once you see them, you can't unsee them. And that's with you forever. Let me see. What else? Oh, okay. Well, I don't talk about this a lot. When I'd say probably about 7 years ago, I started my, what they call a spiritual awakening. And I started realizing that I had some sort of abilities. And about 3 years ago, I had one of my first real situations where I actually had to deal with a spirit. This is a topic that, like I said, I don't talk about very much, so putting it out in a public forum for me is a big deal. Copperhead had said that he hadn't had experiences at Trans Allegheny like he used to. And I told him that while we were there, we were going to try to figure out what was causing this problem. I felt immediately, intuitively, that there was something in the building that was blocking him from experiencing things or interacting with the spirits in the building. So one of the first places I like to go is up to Ward F and, you know, kind of check things out to see what the kind of the climate is, see what's feeling up there. So I went up there and I immediately honed in on this guy, and he was all over the place. I called him squirrely because it was like, you know how squirrels are like jump around and they're here, they're there, they're everywhere. His energy was very squirrely. He was here, he was there. It was almost like he was, you know, teleporting from one area to another. I could feel him at the one end of Ward F when you enter. I could feel him in the seclusion area. I could feel him in the murder room. I could feel him, you know, he was just everywhere. And I just felt like immediately there was something with him and something with Copperhead. So I immediately went down to Copperhead and I said, I think I know what your problem is. There's this man that's upstairs. Well, when I first saw him in my mind's eye, he didn't want people seeing what he looked like. So he kind of moved his face in a way that, kind of like the Flash, he just moved his face really fast. It was almost like it was vibrating. And I said, he doesn't want me to see what he looks like, but he had a little bit of a blip there. I saw he had longish hair and he had it slicked back, blue eyes, very long face. He had a big gap between his front teeth. And he was wearing a blue top of some sort. So, which could, you know, I couldn't see anything other than his torso. So he may have just been wearing a gown. And I explained to who he was, you know, that he's really centered around that area. Copperhead immediately knew who he was. Said he'd experienced him before, and yes, he probably was the person that was blocking him from interacting with other spirits in the building. So Copperhead asked me to go find him and wanted to do a couple things, and I won't explain all that he wanted to do because that's not really for this forum. But the last thing that I saw, this guy, I went up to find him, and me and two other investigators were together. We walk down Ward F, and then we come up by the seclusion cells, and we get right there to where that wall ends, like you're leaving Ward F, right there at the end of the cells. And it was like he was right there in front of me. And he just literally threw his head back and started laughing at us. Just laughing. And within seconds, literally seconds of me saying he's laughing at us, both guys and I hear in the hallway this huge shout of laughter. And I'm telling you what, their eyes were like the size of dinner plates. They looked at me like, holy crap. And, you know, it was great validation for me, who's like, I feel like I'm a crazy, like I should be committed here now because I'm seeing this guy. And, you know, we had this experience. We go downstairs, we tell them, we come back up, and, you know, it was all very interesting. So I don't know about that, Ricky. I would say that probably in this instance, I shouldn't have done what I had done because I was not at the point where I'd started really protecting myself before I went out and, you know, spiritually protecting myself. I feel like, though, back then, because I was so wide open, that I experienced everything. Now I'm way more guarded because I don't want something like that following me home. But this guy, my last vision of him, he was in this bathroom because Copperhead wanted to find him. And I said, all I know is he's in a gray bathroom. That's all I know. And I said, is that in Ward C or is that in Ward F? And Copperhead said, I don't know. Let's go look. And surprisingly enough, he was in this bathroom in Ward F. And I hate this bathroom. It is so creepy. It has like gray, like granite-y kind of walls. And he was over in the corner. And at this point, he was completely naked. Isn't that bonkers? He was completely naked and sobbing. So that was my last view of him. And I've heard that he's back at Trans-Allegheny. I kind of feel like he is too. So I don't really want to connect with that guy again. But no, he didn't scare me at all. I didn't really feel afraid of him. I felt sorry for him because he was crazy, crazy, crazy. I mean, there are really no other words for that. So just remember when you're going out there investigating, some of these spirits were crazy in life and they're crazy in death too. So they don't really have any type of rules. They just do what they want. And he was apparently blocking Copperhead. And by the time we were finished, Copperhead seemed to have his mojo back. So it was all very Moaning Myrtle. You'll have to tell me that story, Sarah. That was probably the freakiest thing. He was naked. He was curled up, and he was like taking his hands and rubbing the wall like he wanted to get out. Well, it didn't break my heart because I feel like he was manipulating us in some way. He was attempting to, like, don't do that to me. Don't try to send me where I believe that I'm not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be here. I feel like it was kind of a manipulation tactic. It wasn't that he was, but it could have been. I don't know. But that is also, these are personal experiences. This is me with the mediumship ability, but other people experienced something that I said was happening right after I said it happened. So they hear the laughter right after I say he's laughing at us. Did we get it on audio? No. But now I know if I'm going out and I'm doing any of the psychic or medium kind of impressions, I have my recorder running because you never know what possibly could happen. But anybody has questions about that, feel free to ask. Like I said, I don't talk about it too much. It was very involved. It was extremely tiring. And at that point, after it all happened, I couldn't close myself back off like I used to. It's almost like when you close a garage door and there's something underneath of it and you just keep trying to shut it and it just keeps hitting that thing. I had to go outside and sit by myself in the grass, which was an even more epic story. I go outside behind Trans-Allegheny where the cafeteria used to be. And I'm standing back there on the cement pad, just trying to, breathe through it, meditation kind of style. And then I look over across the field and there's these eyes staring at me. And I'm like, what the heck is that? I'm by myself. Everybody else is off investigating still. I'm out there by myself, just trying to get my bearings. And I see these eyes across the field and I'm thinking, crap, I did all of that and now I'm going to come out here and get eaten by something behind the building. And, I kept trying to scare it, whatever it was. It would just turn away and it would look back at me. So Copperhead comes outside and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, there's something over there. And he's like, it's a deer. Well, their deer apparently aren't afraid of humans, especially crazy, screamy humans, because it wouldn't move. I really wanted to figure out what the heck it was. But anyways, well, the funny thing is, when we used to do the flashlight tours over at Trans-Allegheny, I would always have to follow up the rear of the tour. There'd be like 30 people in this line, and I'm all the way at the back. And people turn around, they're like, how do you do that? How do you be at the back? And I'm like, actually, I wouldn't want to be first. I'd rather be in the back. So a couple times, though, it worked to my advantage because, these people went there to be scared. So I'd put my hood up and stand around a corner. So if they'd go into a room so they could tell like a scary story, then they'd come out of the room and I'd be standing there with my hood up and they couldn't see who I was. It scared the crap out of them. It was awesome. I do miss that. But anyways, a lot of people have said that same thing, that I'm fearless, but I used to be afraid of the dark. So, we all have our issues. But anyways, like I said, go on to our YouTube channel and I'll try to post the link up in a little bit. Hopefully I don't forget. I almost forgot to do this live. I swear, I'm just no good anymore. There's lots of great stuff on there. I think one of our best EVPs that we've ever gotten was at Paxton Manor. We weren't actually in the manor mansion, which I don't know if anybody's ever been there. It's in Leesburg, Virginia. It's owned by the Ark of Loudon, and there's a mansion that was owned by a very rich family and eventually was supposed to be turned into an orphanage. We went to investigate. They allowed us in the mansion, and then there was a small, what was a daycare building at one time, but they had turned it into like a fun house part of the haunted house called Shocktober they do there. Anyways, so we were in this little daycare building, and we were asking questions. One of the first things that we asked was, do you have a message for somebody? And the EVP clearly says, help me. Not quite sure if it's an EVP or if it's an actual ITC, like off the ghost box or spirit box. I think it was a ghost box, one of the shack hacks that we were using. So that one's a great one. The private home in Kemar that we did many, many moons ago, we had a voice say, bear with me on that one again. It said, get them out. It is the deepest, creepiest voice I think I've ever heard. We were all in the living room at that point there was only 4 of us. We were doing a session in the living room, and we had heard footsteps upstairs, like walk down the hallway upstairs, come down the staircase, where we were in the living room, you could see the staircase. It walked down the stairs, across the room, and stopped at the doorway of the room that we were in. And we captured this voice saying, get them out. That one was awesome. I want to say that's about it really for some experiences versus evidence or data. I mean, check them out, see what you guys think. Let me know what you think on here. I think most of you probably already have kind of said that you feel the personal experiences are kind of thrown out way too often. And I really feel like they do. I feel lately more and more I'm trying to put all of our personal experiences in our conclusions that we do on our cases so that, there's that information. Even if it's the smallest, weirdest thing. If somebody saw a shadow in the middle of the bed, who knows? Who knows what you could get that could actually eventually explain that? Or if he experienced that and maybe nobody else knew about it and somebody else did at the same time. So keep track of that kind of stuff. And if anybody who watches this video, because it's live right now, but eventually it's just going to be up on our page. If anybody watches this video that is a client or just experiencing paranormal activity, journalize everything. Keep track of what's happening to you. Write down the date that it happens. The people who were involved. If it was you and your best friend, if it was you and your mom, write down who was in the house. Even if it was you alone and your brother was upstairs, write down where everybody was. It's kind of like Clue. Where the activity occurred. Was it the living room? Was it the bathroom? Was it the kitchen? Make sure you write what houses it's in, because some people, you would think that would be common sense, but if you live in a couple different areas, keep track of every house that you live in, every house you go to. If you have experiences, write it down. Especially if you think you have abilities. Writing that stuff down is really important. It kind of helps you, it helps you go through everything. Write down the time that it happens. You never know when you may figure out that it happens the same time every day. Now, we know somebody who was working on a house, a very old house, and at 3:30 every single day, he would hear the front door click. And then about maybe a couple seconds later, he'd just feel like somebody was behind him and all his hair would stand up. He said, I didn't even have to look at a watch or a clock. It happened every single day. And as soon as he said, that's when I knew it was time to pack up and get out of there. So just remember, writing all this stuff down. And don't forget to write down what you experience. When you experience it and you write it down, later on, you may have a little bit of a clearer head. You're not as afraid. There's a lot of fear involved in this. You won't be as afraid to try to figure out possibly what happened. Take a little time, take some deep breaths, go back in an hour after you've written everything down with the clear information that you have, and try to recreate it. You may find that you have an explanation for it. There may be a very logical explanation, and then you don't have to worry. You don't have anything in your house, you know? So write it all down, keep a journal. That is my recommendation for everybody, even people who are just paranormal investigators. Keep that stuff written down all the time. And it's really helpful if clients do it, because then we can get, you know, a more accurate idea of what we should do when we go into somebody's house. But I think that's about it, guys. I think I'm going to end it tonight, 10 minutes early. If you have any questions, comments, topic ideas, feel free to post them or send me a message. I will be back next Thursday, hopefully. Not Thursday, Tuesday. I don't even know what day of the week it is. And, you know, I don't know yet what I will talk about. Eventually, I'd like to have Sharon on here, and we kind of discuss the actual more metaphysical side, and psychics, mediums, sensitives, things like that. Really kind of get the meat and potatoes of abilities out there so that we can kind of talk about that. Oh, thanks, guys. But anyways, I'm going to leave you with, I'm Rebecca Boyer. I'm the co-founder, case manager of Antietam Paranormal Society. And it was great seeing you guys. Bye.